Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce 𝓉𝓚 video session 20. So in the previous session, that is in video session 19, we understood what is the meaning of append and what exactly the append node from the data flow does. And I've shown you practically, how we were getting three different records from my internal log, from one of my external log and another second external log. And when I was combining those records, how I got perfectly the same results. Okay. Now we will do the same part what we did on data flow, and we will actually do it on the recipe section. Okay, so this is already open for me, and yeah, here I showed you that part, which is fine. Now the same thing what we did on data flow, I will just do it on recipe as well. So I will go to data manager, and let's create one session. I will name it as free session 3. So firstly, let me just save it as free session 3. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, from here, I will select the Salesforce object, that is my internal object, and I will select account from here. Let me search over your account. Okay. So let me select ID, name, and industry. Okay. ID, name, and industry, which is fine. Let me click on next. And once again, I will do the same part. But right now, I don't need the Salesforce object. I need the external connected objects. And from the external connected objects, what I will do is I will select my account. Fine. And from here, let me just select ID, name, and industry, which is fine. And from the next one, okay. Also, let me select this tree, which is fine. Now I will just give a proper naming convention. So I will just give it as external account just to ensure it's differentiated. Okay, and this is fine. And this one came from my 𝑔𝒂𝒃𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒈 org. So I will just write it as okay. Now, here what we are going to do is, and this account is nothing but my internal org, the org which contains 9 standards, which is fine. Now I will just combine these two, and I will go for this append node. Fine. Now, once I go for this append node, let me write here append internal and external org. Okay. Let me click on apply. And once you do that, you already get it automatically mapped. That is, from my recipe column, which is the nothing but the external account over here. From that external account, I have the ID matched to account ID, name matched to account name, industry matched to industry. Okay. So that's the thing about this. And now let me click on apply. Now, once this is done, what I'm going to do, I will just connect these two nodes, and I will again go for append. Fine. And here I will write append append uh, internal, external, append, internal, external. I'm giving it in brackets because already we appended it earlier. Okay, and I will just write and 𝑔𝒂𝒃 org. Okay, let me click on apply here, which is fine. And then ID, name, and industry, which is also working perfectly. Okay, let me click on apply. Fine. So now once this is done, what I will do is I will just clean up the nodes. Okay, so as you can see here, this is my internal or external or account, and I have first appended those two, and then after that, I'm appending this one along with it, and finally I will give the register node. Okay, so let me write here append node in recipe, and we are already maintaining one recipe data set app. So I will just store it over there, and let me just give the output node as append node dataset, append node dataset. Okay. So it is saved right now. So currently it's in the running stage. Let's monitor this, which is fine. Okay, so as we have seen right now, this recipe ran successfully, and let's now quickly go to our Analytics Studio, and let me search for the data set from my app, that is the recipe app, right? Let me go to app. Let me go to recipe dataset, and we have created this one. So earlier I already calculated, which is stored in my calculator, is 1029, and that's what you see exactly over here. Okay. So if you just add this 1003, and from my second external log 13 plus 13, you will get this count, and that is the exact count which is matching here as well. Okay. And the same thing we also saw on the data flow side. Fine. Now, this is how basically the append nodes in recipe works. As you must have seen the difference in data flow, what happens whenever you choose this append node, you basically get an option to connect all the sources, right, at one go. Okay. However, in recipe, you have to just select it one by one. Fine. Now, with that being covered, let us very quickly also cover what is the different types of append node in data flow. So we have two different types of append node in data flow. One is enabling allow disjoint schema. Another one is disabling allow disjoint schema. Fine. So what does that mean? For example, here, if you see, in my output fields, I have ID and name from my internal. From my external, I also have ID and name as well. It's taking time to load ID and name. Okay. And from my Gen org, even also I have ID and name. Fine. Okay. Now what happens is when you have another field chosen, let's say from my internal, okay, if I choose another field, which is, let's say, the industry, right? If I choose industry, now what happens is here, basically you have chosen extra column, right? So up till now we had only two columns, that is ID and name, but only for one of the nodes, that is internal, you have chosen ID, name, and industry. So definitely there's a mismatch of columns if you see. Okay. Now if I update and run this data flow, there will be an error. Okay. So first let's see what will be that error very quickly. Okay. And then I will explain you what exactly the allow disjoint schema enabling that checkbox does for you. Okay. As you see, it failed, okay, which was expected. And you can see this is what the error message is. Something went wrong, like it's not able to find the industry. Fine. Now what happens is whenever you're choosing one extra column from one of the database, when you are appending it, you have to ensure that you enable this checkbox, that is allow disjoint schema. As the name suggests, there's a disjoint, right? So there's a mismatch between the number of columns, okay, and exactly that column name as well. So you had ID and name from the first two database, okay, but from an internal, from external, I took ID name, but from internal, I added one more column. Fine. What happens is that particular industry column won't come up if I don't select this allow disjoint schema. After selecting this, what is going to happen? The question which might arise is, okay, so what about the external log industry? Won't those value won't be taken? Yes, you are right. The values of industry won't be taken from my external and Gen org, and it will be shown as blank, but the values which are there in my internal, that will be shown up. Okay. So now we can quickly check this. Now, if I update and run the data flow, it will run successfully. Let's monitor this for a few minutes. Okay. I think few seconds it should be. So data flow usually runs very quickly, as you have seen here. So that's it. And now let me just quickly refresh this. And let me open the append accounts, which is coming from the data flow. Now here, of course, the count is matching, but if I Now take the industry part, right? You see the industry part, whatever industry you see right now, these are all in my internal log. Okay, so in my internal log, I all have this count of industry. So now let's say if I go to values table, right? So under values table, you get to, and let me just rearrange this properly, ID, name, and industry. Okay, you see wherever I'm getting this industry as blank, right? It's all the industry of in external like Gensior. That doesn't mean that from external and Gensior I don't have industry, right? Like if I go to my external org and if I just write comma name, comma industry, okay, what's the error? Okay, comma extra comma over here, which is fine. So as you can see, there are quite a good number of values which I have. Also from here, if I select it, I see quite good number of values for industry, except a few which are blank. But the question is now why it's not showing up over here, right? It's not showing up. It's showing as blank because I haven't selected that column itself. Fine. For example, here I will differentiate at a later stage, but wherever you see this blank and wherever you see these values are nothing but coming from my internal log. Okay. And because I didn't selected the industry value from my Gensi org and one of the external log, it's not actually showing up for me. Okay. So that's how it is. And I think I will again explain this once I actually tell you how we can differentiate what are the records coming from different. That is one part I need to cover, and I will cover that. But usually, as you can see here, whenever you have this industry plan, now, because currently this is not a proper way to also show, because I think my internal also I have some blank values, I guess. Okay, so in internal, I have only one blank value if you see, okay, the last one. Otherwise, in all this 1003 records, as you can see, I don't have any blank values. So definitely, if it is showing blank, it means definitely one of them could be from internal, but others are from my Gensi org and external log. The only reason it's showing blank is because I haven't selected that column, as you can see over here. Okay, ID and name here, ID and name here. So that's the meaning of allow disjoint schema. So if somebody asks you what are the two types of append node, you have to say one enabling allow disjoint schema, another one disabling allow disjoint schema. In enabling allow disjoint schema, if we select any extra node from one of the database, those column will show up. But if we disable it, we have to ensure that whatever database we are appending over there, the number of columns and the type of columns has to be same. Okay. So that's it about this video. We covered the append node on recipe, and I just showed you the difference between the two types of append node in data flow. And yeah, if you have liked this video, then please definitely do like, share, and subscribe. And let's meet very soon in our next session. Thank you.